We just got a massive update on the future of CD Projekt Red, and somehow this is totally flying under the radar. A new Witcher 3 expansion is coming. Could we be playing this in under 2 months? And during the last earnings call, we got a lot of winks and nods as to when this might be dropping and even how large the expansion could be. But honestly, what I think is...
Remember, I do have The Witcher 3 and The Witcher 2. I deleted my original playthrough because I want a fresh. I just want a fresh start of playing with The Witcher 2. But I heard they're making a remaster, so I might just play. And they're making the original one, so that should be like next 2 years, I think. But
even crazier, Cdpr has 3 other totally unannounced projects that are being worked on right now, and they're not what you think. During this last earnings call, they basically rolled out all of the obvious choices for what these projects might be, so we might have something else releasing from Cdpr this year, likely for Cyberpunk 2077, and they may have accidentally just leaked it. We have a ton to talk about today, because starting in just a couple of months, Cdpr is about to get insanely active, and they're not stopping anytime soon. It's been a few years, but we're finally approaching the light at the end of the tunnel as far as waiting for Cdpr releases. The Witcher 3 is getting a new expansion. Technically, this hasn't been revealed, but we have several leaks saying it's coming, and even Cdpr is teasing some kind of new content release, with many nods that it may be for The Witcher 3. This was originally leaked last summer by Rock and Boris on their podcasts. During a recent earnings call, Cdpr mentioned this unannounced game from Fool's Theory, with Rock and Boris making it clear that this is actually a new story DLC for The Witcher 3. Fool's Theory is an outside studio made up of a bunch of former Witcher devs. Cdpr hired them a few years ago to remake The Witcher 1 and the new Witcher 4 engine, but it seems like after these new CEOs took over in 2024, work on a new Witcher 3 expansion began as well. And in December, we got further confirmation. Cdpr is one of the major publicly traded companies in Poland, and a Noble Securities analyst published a report on Cdpr's future plans late last year. This gave us a ton more insight, as he does suggest that CD Projekt's unannounced project was a DLC for The Witcher 3, which would serve as a bridge between the final installment of the previous trilogy and the new opening of the saga, simultaneously launching the campaign for The Witcher 4. So this is big, not some random 4chan post, but a proper analyst predicting a Witcher 3 DLC was coming. And a very important element of all of this is when he says campaign here, he means the marketing campaign for The Witcher 4. We expect the next paid add-on for The Witcher 3 to be released in May 2026. We assume sales of 11 million copies at $30 each next year. We estimate the production budget of PLN 52 million. This release should kick off the proper marketing campaign for The Witcher 4. And as all of this was going on, even another leaker came to the table with a bit of different information. With the rise of all these rumors over the end of last year, IGN Poland finally revealed that, yeah, they actually knew about this the entire time. We have a confession to make. We've known about the work on a potential new expansion behind the scenes for a very long time. We don't want to reveal exact data to protect our sources, but the topic first appeared on our radar years ago. Our source, someone who has repeatedly provided us with reliable insider information, confirmed directly that a new expansion was in the works, albeit at a very early stage. They go on to say that they never wrote about this info because it was only coming from one source. But with the recent leaks, they decided to post what they heard years ago, and this is incredibly interesting, because IGN Poland heard about location details around this project. They describe how the devs were interested in exploring Zerikania, a very distinct desert region that was described as a dune style, with IGN Poland pointing out several potential ending clues alluding to this location coming, but also mentioning how they learned this years ago. And of course, the design direction of the expansion may have shifted to Kovir, this new region being introduced in The Witcher 4 that we recently saw in the tech demo, this being dubbed the Venice of the New North. I honestly think a desert take on The Witcher could land really well, but if this is meant to be a marketing opportunity, it seems pretty clear that Kovir makes a lot more sense. But it gets even deeper. As all of these rumors were swirling, Cdpr had their year-end earnings call for 2025, and we got a ton of answers around all of this and even more. One of the big topics was this earnings incentive. Cdpr has to make a certain amount of profit, and if they do, the executives get a bonus. You can see here, they still need to earn 26% of the total earnings for this year. They're behind schedule, but mention how we we continue to believe that with strong back catalog sales performance this year and with new content we're planning to release, we have a fair chance of reaching it. This basically confirming it. The new expansion is coming in 2026, but is it coming in May? May is of course the anniversary of The Witcher 3, but also just next month. Could we actually be playing a new expansion in just a few weeks? Probably not. Perhaps the single most revealing quote from this recent earnings call was when talking about a potential shadow drop for their game. Cdpr mentions our experience and our preference, given the types of games we make, is for longer term marketing campaigns. We think they tend to work a little bit better than, say, a live drop at some conference or event, so I'd point in that direction. And listening to this call in real time, it very much so felt like they were just confirming things to investors around the Witcher 3 expansion without actually saying the Witcher 3 expansion out loud. Here, I think they made it very clear that a shadow drop isn't happening. But I think what is far more likely is a reveal at the summer showcase, or hey, maybe even a surprise trailer on the Witcher 3's anniversary in May,
Yeah.
and then an actual release of the expansion several months later.
Yeah, I feel like the Summer Games Fest, that's when everybody is going to fucking start throwing their bows. Because remember, man, Rockstar might show they gonna start doing their advertisement around next month in June. So, and like the Summer Games Fest is around May and June. So we don't even know we don't even know what the fuck is going on. We don't even know what's going to happen. So yeah, it's a lot. So yeah, so no just speculation. Just no speculation. Take a lot of things with a grain of salt and just, hope for the best.
This summer or perhaps in early fall. After all, they actually have to sell enough copies this year to earn enough profit to hit this incentive. And even the analyst who was previously predicting a May drop has since revised that prediction. But even CDPR is saying new content is coming in 2026. They're confirming it. Something's on the way. And they do mention
So it is
how
new
development on
content.
this is going well. We're quite satisfied specifically with Fool's Theory, where we are with them and where this project they're working on is heading. And we basically get an explanation on why they're releasing this expansion for The Witcher 3 even all these years later. One question was on the recent release of The Witcher 3 on Game Pass. Could the release on Game Pass be an opportunity to get more people in the base game just before a new expansion for the game drops? The exec mentions how they like this question, likely a nod to the fact that, yeah, they did envision that exact benefit by going to Game Pass. But they did end it with, we want to allow them to familiarize themselves with the Witcher adventures before the upcoming release of The Witcher 4. And I really think that's one of the big reasons we're getting a new expansion for The Witcher 3. On its own, it'll make a nice chunk of money for CDPR, but also this will act as a massive marketing tool for The Witcher 4 and really the new Witcher trilogy that is all stemming from The Witcher 4. The Witcher 4 is almost certainly coming out next year. If anything, if the expansion is confirmed for this year, it almost makes it seem more likely that the next game is coming next year, especially when you consider these two were meant to be connected. So I wouldn't be shocked if all of these are kind of tied together. This summer, we very realistically could be getting a release window for a new Witcher 3 expansion, but then also the Witcher 4 itself, particularly if they're targeting a May 2027 release for The Witcher 4. But as crazy as all of that is in its own right, there also are 3 other totally unannounced projects currently being financed and worked on at CDPR. We heard about this last year. CDPR said they had 4 unannounced projects that were capitalized, including 3 games and 1 non-game project. At this point, we know one of the games is this Witcher 3 expansion, but there has been a ton of confusion as to what the other projects could or couldn't be. Thankfully, during the recent earnings call, CDPR made this quite clear, clarifying a bunch of things, and I really think the best way to handle all of this is just to visualize it. CDPR confirmed that they are working on and capitalizing The Witcher 4, Cyberpunk 2, Sirius, that being the Molasses Flood Witcher game, Cyberpunk Edgerunners 2, those are what they consider announced projects they have on the way, but then also they're working on 4 unannounced projects, including 1 non-game project. But this doesn't include projects that are being worked on by licensed third parties. So that Scopely partnership that is likely some kind of Cyberpunk Cyberpunk mobile game isn't included here. CDPR even further clarified that this game is something for further than a year from now, so it doesn't seem like we're going to be hearing about it anytime soon. And they even clarified that the live-action Cyberpunk project, yeah, remember that thing that was announced years ago, that also isn't included here as one of the unannounced projects. Although we actually do get a few extra details on this one. They say they would love to share more on the Cyberpunk live action, but can't. We're working on it, we see some movement that we think is interesting, but it's far from the point where we'd be able to go out and say, this is what happened. The only thing I can think of here as to what they could be referencing is some kind of interesting casting choices that might be made around the project. Okay, so we know a bunch of stuff that CDPR is working on, but what about these other things? And to be clear, it really doesn't
Put me
seem
in a
like these are
Cyberpunk
projects that
movie,
are years
man.
away now. The way they're talking about
Yeah.
they're capitalized and active development and things CDPR is actively spending money to work on. It really feels like they're coming out relatively soon, likely in the next year or two, but within the 2-year time period. CDPR does offer a bit more information on the non-gaming project. The project is being developed externally, but it is financed and coordinated by us in the framework of one of our franchises, so perhaps some kind of Witcher anime to go along with The Witcher 4. And I do suspect that Cyberpunk 2077 mod tools is another one, and CDPR may have even accidentally leaked this. We of course just saw how Cyberpunk 2077 got a new PS5 Pro patch. This brought a bunch of enhancements. It seems like it's going over quite well with the community, and during the earnings call, someone asked if Virtuous was making this patch. The CDPR executive originally said no, it was being by Yigsoft, not Virtuous. But that was actually incorrect, and in the transcript for the earnings call, a correction was added. Yigsoft was mentioned in error. The Cyberpunk 2077 update for PS5 Pro is actually being developed by Virtuous, that being the same company that worked on the other past Cyberpunk updates. Okay, so Virtuous is still working on Cyberpunk somewhat, cool. But why did this executive say Yigsoft was working on this update? Yigsoft are very notably the creators of Redmod, the modders that were hired by CDPR, and in the past it was said how we are working with Yigsoft on the development of Cyberpunk 2077 modding tools. That being in reference to these already released tools that do make certain community tools easier to maintain and build for the existing modding scene. But of course, proper mod tools, like what the game just got last year for The Witcher 3, would be a dream for Cyberpunk and is likely what one of these other secret projects is. And I would just have to guess that Yigsoft is currently working on mod tools for Cyberpunk 2077. That's why this executive said it here. And we also got further confirmation that yes, the Witcher 3 mods are coming to console this year. This makes a ton more sense as something that might release alongside the big new expansion, and that could be really big for the Witcher 3 modding scene. The tools are out there, but there hasn't been a ton of mods coming out because there just isn't a ton of interest in The Witcher 3. It's a very old game, many people have played it, but these tools are powerful, and we're seeing some of the potential of what could be done with these. Some very ambitious projects are underway already, so whenever this expansion does drop, we might see some really epic mods start being built for The Witcher 3, and they'll likely be available on consoles. But with all of that in mind, a new expansion coming for The Witcher 3 and even extended support for Cyberpunk 2077 happening even still, surely another expansion is coming for Cyberpunk 2077 also, right? Well, apparently not. CDPR did explicitly confirm on Twitter, we have no plans for additional DLCs or expansions. If anything changes, we will inform you all. Which, yeah, that kind of is the nail in the coffin for another Cyberpunk 2077 DLC. You might immediately be like, wait, what about that DLC leak from last year? It was on LinkedIn. It even mentioned writing for existing.
Like I said, man, they say they are done with it, but they put a big but in there though. And this fucking this and then this LinkedIn post right here got linked last year. And a lot of people assumed that it was a DLC coming. It says multiple new side quests. We don't know if it is a DLC, not an expansion. Which shit, y'all do another expansion. Shit, that would probably be dope. But we probably won't get the expansion. We probably get like a little small DLC. What I want though, I want y'all to change how Charter Hill looks, because in the fucking in the source material, Charter Hill was like a rich neighborhood. Like that whole field right beside Charter Hill Like it's just a big ass field, and it looks like it was someone supposed to be there, but it's just a big ass field. And I feel like they need to fill. I think they need to like rework that so it can be more. So it can be more mirror. I said that wrong. Like I said, just fill that shit in right there. Fill all that shit in there. I feel like y'all can do that. And same way with not the oil field, Biotechca flats. Rework that too because I feel like nigga that's like I feel like most of these these places are just they just feel like a rush and it's not a usable spot. Those like the least favorite spots to go to. And y'all need to put more enemies in there, man. Like do something like a nemesis system and have niggas pull up on you with the blicks. I mean y'all kinda do, but it happens like it rarely happens. It probably happened like 1 or 2 times and that's it. So yeah, that that's my observation.
Characters. Unfortunately, that might have just been a part of this vehicle update we got last year. We get text from some of the existing characters in game.
Yeah.
Cdpr likes to reference DLCs as free feature additions, so maybe that's what this was talking about. But is this real? Despite all of these teases, could we actually not be getting another Cyberpunk 2077 expansion, even as they're doing it for The Witcher 3? Yeah, I think this is happening. I think one of the big issues here is time. Cdpr was insanely lucky to have a full-fledged third-party studio of former Witcher devs with Red Engine experience. In the past, we heard how this Witcher 3 expansion had over 100 devs working on it and it's been underway for several years now. I just don't think they have another 100 devs sitting around anywhere with years to dedicate to another Cyberpunk 2077 expansion, which, remember, we've heard how they had several issues around development with this game, and it even seems like with some of the updates for this game, a full new expansion might just be way too much of a nightmare to make. So instead, when it comes to Cyberpunk 2077, it seems like Cdpr is prioritizing free updates like what we have with the PS5 Pro update, and we do continue to see Steam DB movement for Cyberpunk 2077, suggesting that something could be coming. And of course, Cdpr is full steam ahead on Cyberpunk 2. The devs on that project have been rapidly increasing. 220 developers joined Cdpr overall in the last year. But even with all of that in mind, Cdpr does have 2 secret projects on the way, one non-gaming and one gaming. These are projects that seem relatively close to release, likely in the next year or two, but I genuinely have no clue what they could be. During this previous earnings call, Cdpr truly ruled out all of the major choices, at least in my eyes. This new game project in particular could be very interesting. Could there be something else for Cyberpunk 2077 that isn't a
And that's the thing about CDPR, man. They move so strategically. They move so strategic. It's just like they know like it feels like it's like you ask them, hey, is y'all coming up with this and that? They'll be like, no, we ain't working on that. But keep on looking though. You might find something. That's what that's what they do. And like these past updates has been, they've been good. They've been good. I'm not even complaining about the last update they did. It was underwhelming, but it was cool. With and the Witcher 4, it has a beautiful. They didn't know the demo looks beautiful, so yeah. Wait to Games Fest. Games Fest is finna be a movie.
DLC or
it's finna be a movie.
But is the type of paid content? At the end of the day, Cdpr still has to hit that profit incentive, and while, yeah, mod tools will definitely help with sales of Cyberpunk, I don't think it'll be a massive influx of new copies sold, at least not on the level of a new expansion. So some were speculating Cdpr could have another paid release in 2026 in addition to this assumed Witcher 3 expansion, but when asked, they did decline to comment.
So you know what that means, right? That means they got something.
Salutations, everybody. It is Maddie here today.
You finna watch more. I'm finna watch more content. I don't know. I'm buzzed the fuck out. This is a 54-minute clip, so I'm gonna have to chop this down. This might, like I said, I got a lot of content coming out Monday, so y'all just be on the lookout for that. All right, like, share, comment, and subscribe to both my channels, my reaction channel and my gaming channel. Now we'll love that. I'm fucking buzzed out. I'm gone. Peace.